Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Commanders Declassified. I'm Eric. My guy Brian is here. Ellie is vacation. He's roaming the countryside this weekend, so it's just the two of us. The boss is away, so we're going to have a little bit of fun this week. Brian, what's happening, man?
Not too much. Not too much. Hope Ellie has a good vacation. But yeah, it's just you and me tonight, man.
Yeah, he's getting his cranky old man on up in New York City right now. I've been following his post. He's like, "Oh, it's so loud at Times Square. It's so crowded." Like,
it's too many people at Times Square.
Ellie, man, it's Times Square. It's all good, man. Have fun up there, Ellie. We're gonna have a good time. Absolutely. Tonight we're gonna chat. We're gonna chat a little bit about the 90th anniversary team. They released the candidates for the next 10 to be added to that. They do it every couple of years. I guess the first one they did was a 75th, and they did an 80th. Yep. Now they're doing the 90th. So they added like 10 or 12 or 13 new candidates. We're gonna kind of just touch on them a little bit. Think about maybe debate the prospects, see who's in, who's out, whatever. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And then we're just going to kick it. We're going to kind of spitball back and forth, just have some fun, talk some Commanders tonight. Sound good to you, Brian?
Oh, man, let's do it. I'm excited. Let's do this.
All right. So the candidates for the 90th anniversary team. It's so weird trying to call it like 90 greatest Commanders. Like I can't do it, right?
Because exactly. It's like we just got the name Commanders. It's like they're not all Commanders. So absolutely.
Yeah, there's like 0 greatest Commanders, but so I'm going to go with the 90th anniversary team. I think that has a nice ring to it. Pardon me. COVID is still kicking my butt, so I apologize for the throat clearing tonight. All right, so here are the list, the most recent list of candidates. We're going to start with Joe Lavender, a defensive back from the mid 70s era, 76 to 82. I don't have all the stats right in front of me. We're going to release a breakdown later this week or tomorrow or whatever. That's going to have go into a little bit more detail about all these guys. So Joe Lavender, cornerback, 1976 through 82. Alfred Morris, you know who he is, 2012-16 running back. Larry Peccatello, co-defensive coordinator during the Gibbs era. Him and Richie Pettibone rocked the house with those great defenses. Kirk Cousins, of course, Cousins, quarterback. We know him. Stephen Davis, running back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Our guy Trent Williams, the GOAT left tackle. Chip Lowmiller, the kicker from the Super Bowl years. Mike Sellers. What do you think about that? Well, we'll get to it, but Mike Sellers. Fullback from 98 to 2000, then 04 to 11. London Fletcher, Ryan Kerrigan, Laverne Torguson, good old Torgy. He's a defensive coach and player from the Golden Ages.
Say that name again.
Laverne Torguson.
Oh, man.
Have you seen the picture of him? He looks like if you said anything about his first name, he would just beat you to death with his bare hands.
That sounds like an alias. That doesn't even sound like a real name.
Laverne Torgy. Nickname was Torgy, which is a great nickname. And then rounding out the list, we've got Chris Cooley, tight end, Robert Griffin III, Daryl Grant, defensive tackle from the 80s, D'Angelo Hall, defensive back, Champ Bailey, and our guy Santana Moss. So that's a mouthful of players there. So hearing that, what are your first thoughts on this, Brian?
My first thoughts are there are, I don't know, maybe, just with you saying those, maybe like 7 or 8 that I think are just surefire locks. Those guys should be on there. Absolutely. But then there's like 3 or 4 guys who just shouldn't be on there. How their names got put in there, I don't know. And then there's probably like 4 or 5 guys where I'm like, who? Torgy. I'm glad he's not around because it sounds like he's a very bad man. But I really don't know him or have obviously haven't seen him play or have heard much about him. So there's a couple of guys I just don't know. I mean, I'm 39, so I'm probably just too young to know about some of these guys. But I think there are some certain locks. There's some guys I'm like, wait, what? Why are they on here? And then some guys I just don't know enough about.
Yeah. So this kind of thing, to me, it's released every 10 years and it's a fan poll. So I think recency bias is going to play a huge part in it.
Yeah.
So for that reason, you've got guys like Joe Lavender, who, if you look at his numbers, he was a legit corner in the NFL. He was a Pro Bowler. He's a really good player. He's got, unfortunately, like tackles weren't an official stat back then, so it's hard to gauge a little bit of that. But like with him, he's got like 29 interceptions for his career. So he was a really good player.
Yeah.
But, he played in the 70s and he played, the people that, watched him play and remember him don't, probably vote in online polls very often, and you think that like maybe with somebody like him, you probably have had a better chance to get on in previous seasons.
Exactly, but I think you just said something that was kind of important there. He played in the 70s. If you have 29 interceptions during that decade, that's a lot. That's probably like 60 now because, they were still running the football and running a lot. So the fact that he was able to get 29 in that decade says a lot about the player he was. So, somebody like that, absolutely, he needs to be on there. But like you said, there probably is, a little bit tougher for those guys because the people who saw him play, probably aren't lining up to vote online in a poll or something like that as well, too. But by all means, he should be on there. He's got the resume to back that up. Somebody like a Mike Sellers, maybe not so much of the resume to back that up.
Yeah, Sellers, it's a weird, and I don't. First of all, I really want to stress that I don't want to make fun of anybody. Well, maybe not everybody, but I don't make fun of most of the players on this list. Were have a real case. Like you could make a case for a lot of these, and I don't want to poo-poo on somebody's career because Mike Sellers played like 15 years in the NFL.
Oh,
the dude had a great career, but in my opinion, like I forgot about him as soon as he retired. That's kind of where I'm at. Like he was a very good player here. He was a Pro Bowler once or twice. Made the switch. He was a tight end, then he was a fullback. He played a little H back when Gibbs was here. He did it all. Yeah. But like when you think of like the greatest players in franchise history, like that would, I could be here for 3 hours talking to you and never come up with Mike Sellers. No offense to him. Yeah. It's just like you're talking about the greatest players in history. So that was a weird choice for the list.
Yeah.
Anybody else stand out, like jump out at you?
I think the obvious one, which was a late addition, is the Trent Williams one, right? Play on the field. Trent Williams is one of the better left tackles that we've seen in football in the last several decades. I mean, he's been really, really good. Obviously you've got to look at some of the off the field stuff, and how he exited was not as great. So I can understand, there was a lot of animosity, and how he left. He accused the team of a whole bunch of things, about some mistreatment. I know Bruce Allen tried to open an investigation, and Trent Williams backed off of those claims as well. So there was a lot of animosity on how he left it. But from play on the field, he is a no-brainer. I mean, he, even now, with the 49ers, he is, if not the best, he's right there with the best left tackle in football. So I'm glad he has made it on there. Just from resume alone, he should be on there. But I can understand why he was not. I mean, it wasn't, they say time heals all wounds. Maybe, if we were adding him in another 5 years or in another 10 years, everybody would have forgot about that, and that would be cool. But I'm okay with it. But I also do understand why he got left off initially.
Yeah, I don't understand at all. There's no excuse for that. He's easily the best player on the team over the past decade, even above Tressway, who I love.
Yes.
So, and on his way out, he made it clear to say, look, I have respect for the organization. I love the fans. I would like to come back and be in the Ring of Fame one day. Like, I want to be, like, I don't want to he didn't want to distance himself. I think it's just the only like legit excuse for leaving him off would be maybe, and I don't think this is the case, maybe it's because he's still playing in the NFL. It's the only thing I can think of. But Ryan Kerrigan, I don't think is retired yet either. So
nope,
I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
And
this is one of those things where, I think we talked about it on a previous pod with Jason Wright and his group, is the, and these are Jason Wright's words, lack of institutional knowledge. When they did the Sean Taylor celebration, and it seemed kind of haphazard of how everything was put together, he had come out and said afterwards there was a lack of institutional knowledge, right? We just didn't know how much he meant to the fan base. So I think this may be another instance of that lack of institutional knowledge. And, Jason Wright just didn't know how much Trent meant to the fan base and to the organization, especially, these last, 10 plus years, what Trent has done. So, I think it may fall along in something like that.
No, I'm sorry. That excuse is wearing thin, man. He's been here 2 years now. He's going into his third year with the team. It's time that he's got to get over that. That's not an excuse anymore. Yeah. He's the team president. He's got to get this stuff right. And I it feels like the wounds are still open there with Trent, and I think the team left him off on purpose, and I think it's just a Bush League thing to do. Like I don't see any reason the best player on the team over the past 10 years doesn't get this when you've got guys like, no offense, Mike Sellers that are here, and Larry Pacatello, an assistant defensive coordinator from 30 years ago, 40 years ago. You've got those guys on the list, but you don't have the best player, like literally the best player, one of the best players in the league, the best player on your team easily. I hate it. So the other late addition to that, because of fan backlash, this one bugs me more, is Robert Griffin III. Do you feel like Robert Griffin III deserves a spot on this ballot, let alone the 90 greatest players in the league?
So based off of his on-field production, which was essentially 1 year, right? Like I know he played in 2013, 2014, some other years, but just 1 year of play. No, that 1 year of production, while excellent, it was awesome. It was just 1 year. I mean, we've had other guys who performed for 1 year and, they're not on the list. But I think his impact goes a little bit more. I mean, we were at a point where, we thought he was going to be more. It really re-energized a fan base, which, it quickly evaporated after that because his play was very poor. So I can understand why it is a little tough. But for his play on the field, no, he should not be on the 90 greatest. I mean, they're just 1 year. I mean, that's not enough. You need more. But I understand there was an importance to his play that also echoed off the field as well, too, that first year.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to give me some hate on the Twitters. But I'm back on, by the way. I've been on there for like 3 days.
Nice.
He's to me, he's in the Timmy Smith category of player. Yeah. He's just a one-off, one amazing performance. He stretched it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, what it really speaks to is how bad the organization's been for the past however many years, because like for a large chunk of the fan base, we're talking about people, pretty much everybody under 30, 2012 is the best team they've ever seen put on the field for this group. And that was a 10-6 team that lost in the first round of the playoffs. And that was the first, and that makes me a little bit sad.
It is sad that that's the best team that a lot of people have known.
It hurts, man, because like the fact that he got on here because of fan backlash just really scares me to the point where they're going to put him on the list because he's going to get voted on. Like he's going to make that group because so many people complained that he wasn't on the list, and he just doesn't belong on the group. I'm sorry. I can't do it with him. Like, yeah, I get it. Like I know like 2012 was great and I loved it, but it was like 12 games. It wasn't even a full season that he played. So it's crazy that he could be considered for that. And so many people are like fighting to get him on even the ballot. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. When you're a quarterback, right, the effect of a quarterback is so much greater. You said Timmy Smith. Timmy Smith could have had an entire season, 2,000 yards rushing, and it wouldn't have had the same impact that RG3 had in that 1 year because, what does a quarterback do? It gives you hope. It gives you the ability to say, hey, we have a franchise guy. We're always going to be in the game. But it just turned out to be, fool's gold, and it was just that 1 year.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I get why there's going to be a lot of that there was backlash, and that there's still probably when they do the voting, there's going to be more backlash because he meant a lot to a lot of people, which is weird to say because it was really just 1 year of production. I mean, I liked RG3. I was hoping that he panned out and was upset that he didn't, but 1 year of production is just not enough. It's just not.
The hope. It made it worse when he flamed out because he just went, from top of the world to just awful. I mean, he was 14, 20. He didn't even get on the field his last season with the team. He was a healthy scratch all 16 games.
Yeah.
I can't put that guy on my list. So outside of those two, we talked a lot about those two there, and there's a ton of debate. I'm sure everybody's doing that, but you see anybody who's just like a stone cold 100% just lock, like he's getting on this no matter what.
London Fletcher, stone cold lock. Ryan Kerrigan, franchise leader in sacks, stone cold lock. Chris Cooley, fan favorite, productive Pro Bowl tight end. That's a stone cold lock. You said Santana Moss was on the list,
right?
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, Santana Moss.
Again, another 100% lock for Santana. I know I'm missing somebody that you mentioned, but those guys, I just remembering what you were saying, those are locks for me. I don't really see any argument for them not to be on there.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much my list. The other one I would have would be D'Angelo Hall.
Oh,
I
yes.
think he's a local product, and he's as good as he was for as long.
Think
Santana Moss, that's the one that stands out to me. Like I can't, like I can see, like I can pick at any candidate you put up here, but Santana Moss, I can't think of a single negative thing he did with this team that would make me not want him on this list. Like it's unbelievable. Like I'm kind of surprised that he's not already on there.
Yeah, he was so productive. And go back to D'Angelo Hall. Like, think about the kind of second part of his career that he had with us. I mean, before he got to us, he was me, Angelo, right? There was a lot of stuff with him from the Falcons, from the Raiders, being, kind of a selfish guy. Some of his tackling was, kind of criticized. And then he comes here and he changes all of that. He becomes a team first guy. He brings younger players under his wing. He performs. His tackling was really good during his time here, which some people forget. Outside of the interceptions as well too, but like he really had a great second half of his career here in DC. And absolutely him, Santana, just really good. Really, you'd have to be searching to find a negative.
Yeah, the other one, the one that it's surprising to me that's not already one of the anniversary team members is Stephen Davis. Now you're 39, you should be old enough to remember Stephen Davis.
Stephen Davis, absolutely productive running back. I mean, I would definitely have him. I don't know why, he's just making it along with Mike Sellers. Like I don't, those two are not equal to me. Like Stephen Davis absolutely should be on there. Excellent running back.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about him getting on the team though, because he was eligible for those other anniversary teams, and for whatever reason he's the excuse me, he's the fourth leading rusher in team history.
Yeah.
I was actually shocked. Like I saw him on the list of candidates and I was like, why is he not already on? He was one of the best running backs in the league, and it's not his fault that Steve Spurrier didn't want to run the ball. Like he just got traded or left the team because they didn't run the ball anymore. But he went on to have some great years in Carolina.
His thing is he's one of those guys who was always quiet though, right? Like with media, I mean, fans liked him, but he was never like a big personality. So he just never kind of, I think, kind of made the same mark that some other players who were maybe lesser known or had lesser production kind of, became household names, even though he had the actual production to back it up year in and year out. So I think that may hurt him some because he just wasn't necessarily a favorite. And I think some people forget about him, honestly. I mean, the fact that they're remembering Mike Sellers, I think tells you about it, because Mike Sellers was more popular with the fans. He just was. And he doesn't have near the production that Stephen Davis did.
Yeah, Davis was great. One interesting candidate on this list for me that I think is a really healthy debate, and we should launch this on Twitter as well. Champ Bailey as one of the 90 greatest. That one's so tough because of course he like.
How long was he here? Like was it
5 years? He played 5 seasons, 4 seasons, 99 through 03. But those 4 seasons he was an elite quarterback, an elite defensive back. Yeah. So that's an interest. Like I don't know the answer to that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like that's a tough one for me because he obviously spent the best part of his career elsewhere, and he's going to be a Hall of Fame player, and he's going to go in as a Denver Bronco. But he was like amazing here. He's another one that was eligible for the other teams, and he didn't get it. But he was also like in his prime of his playing career, so I can kind of see that.
I can see why he didn't make it because, again, it's just 4 years, and then he spent, 12 plus years or 10 plus years in Denver, won a championship in Denver, and I think the last couple of years that he was there, he changed to safety. It was a productive safety at the end as well, too. So, I mean, really his career took place there. The 4 years he had here was really good. So I can see why he lasted a little bit long, but I think ultimately you got to put him on. I mean, he just wasn't just a guy when he was here. He was excellent.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he goes on. And I think what's going to help him here is that there's 13 slots on the ballot, and they're letting 10 people on. So I think that's going to help him get on.
Yeah.
Also going to help another one I wanted to just touch on real quick because he's one of the only other ones I really feel like has a good shot at it and it's Alfred Morris. Well, no, there's actually 2 more. Sorry, I'm lying all of it. But Alfred Morris, similar player, 4 years, 4 excellent years in DC. Yeah. He's actually, I believe, 5th in rushing all time for the team. But again, only played here 4 years and went to Dallas. So yeah, is that worthy?
For me, I don't know. Like, I feel like he had the one big year in 2012, 1,600 yards, and then each year it kind of regressed from there. But yeah, they were good years. I just don't know if it was good enough for me to be like, yeah, he's got to be on there. I would say no for me.
Really? See, I think he does get on because he was such a popular player here.
Yeah.
And he rushed for nearly 5,000 yards, I think, in 4 seasons. Like, he was legit. But he was also a prototype like Shanahan back who excels in that system. And then when he's taken out of that system, he just kind of turns back into Clark Kent. So that'll be interesting too. But again, he's another one that, like, because there's so many, there's such a high ratio of candidates are going to get on. Only like 3 or 4 are going to get left off. I think he's got a pretty good shot.
I think he's like the perfect example. We're just talking about Stephen Davis, who legitimately was one of the better backs in the NFL during his time. But just because he wasn't really a fan favorite, it's questionable whether he does make it. And we just talked about Alfred Morris, where, he's got some numbers, but he's such a huge fan favorite. It's probably almost a lock that he does make it because he is such a likable guy, and a lot of fans really love him. So that's kind of crazy, kind of the 2 ends of it right there.
Yeah, he's also fresher in their mind because he's another 2012. So everybody loves 2012.
Oh, yeah.
The last one I'm curious about your opinion on would be Kirk Cousins.
Kurt, K-U-R-T, Kurt. Kirk was a productive starter. I don't think he was particularly good quarterback. I think he was an average starting quarterback. He won some games here. It's really hard for me to say yes, but he's got production here. He's got a couple of 4,000-yard passing seasons. He's got some 30-plus touchdown seasons here, which we don't have that many of for the entire franchise history. So from that standpoint, his production says he's probably going to get on.
I don't want to make this list.
Yeah, I personally would not put him on the list, but I think he's going to make the list. Is what I think.
Yeah, I think either him or Robert Griffin is going to make the list, and it's neither one of them. I don't think should be on the list. Like Kirk Cousins, you said it perfectly. There is a difference between statistically good and good, and Kirk Cousins is the poster child for that statement because he puts up numbers. He's got the numbers, but think about every time, and he's actually why I have paused for like going all in on Carson Wentz because it's similar where he's got the numbers, but then he's also got a long history of like not coming through. When there's like a slam dunk game at the end of the season that you need to win just to get in, and he can't come through. So that I am a little concerned about Wentz, but that's the reason. It's Kirk Cousins because I understand that 10 years ago I'd have been like, he's got the stats, he's got through for 3,000 yards, he's Now I'm like, I had Kirk Cousins here. I understand that just because you throw for 4,500 yards and 27 touchdowns doesn't mean you're a good quarterback. Like you're a franchise guy. So I don't, personally I would not like to see Kirk Cousins on. I think he makes it, or one of those two will make it. I think Robert Griffin has a better chance of making it than Kirk Cousins just because he has a stronger following. They're both kind of polarizing, I think, but
I think if you combine those two into like one person, Kirk and Robert, just combine them as one player, then I think you could get them on the list.
Robert's personality with Kirk's production, sure, absolutely. But I think, by the time 2017 rolled around, we couldn't, like, everybody was just like, bye, Kirk. Nobody was really like, there were some people holding on. We should have kept him or whatever, but it was clear he didn't want to be here.
Yep.
Even though he said he wanted to be where he was wanted and all that nonsense. I don't see it. So anyway, I think,
I agree. He's got production, but for me, I don't think I would put him on for me, but I think he ends up making it though.
Yeah. Just because again, there's 13 guys. So I know that we're that we kind of touched on all the ones that are probably going to make it. There's a few other guys like I have very fond childhood memories of like Daryl Grant. Like I remember that dude like it was yesterday. I don't know that he makes this team personally just because, there's already like Dexter Manley, Charles Mann, Dave Butts are already on there. They were the other three defensive linemen during his era. I don't know. Like Larry Peccatello.
I would have I would have Daryl Grant on there before I even consider Alfred Morris. Like to me, those two aren't the same. Yeah, I think he was much more impactful than the yards that Alfred gave us. And again, Alfred had that one big year, and then his yards declined every year afterwards. So really? I would have him more than I would put in Alfred. Like to me, Alfred is. I don't see it, but again, he does have the production from the Shanahan game, so I get that.
That is interesting. So you're a Daryl Grant guy.
Yeah.
Well, now we got to go through the rest of them because now I need to know your opinion on these. Because
well, some of them I'm not going to know, like the what's his name?
Larry Peccatello. Yeah,
I have no idea.
That's funny.
I don't at all.
Like I've I grew up during the '80s, and I remember like hearing Larry Peccatello, but I didn't know what he did with the team. And like, excuse me, if I ask you who was the defensive coordinator under Joe Gibbs, what are you going to say?
Pettibone is what
exactly. Yeah. So he was co-defensive coordinator with Richie Pettibone, but everybody remembers Richie Pettibone. Nobody remembers Larry Peccatello. He was here. I'm sure he did a great job. I just don't see him being on there. And that's kind of where I'm at with like Laverne Torguson, who I went back and did a little bit of research on Torguson. This dude 100% deserves it. I just don't think he's going to make it because he's Laverne Torguson from 40 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you go through his time with the team, and like I said, we're going to put out an article on this, to kind of coincide with this. So you'll see kind of what I'm talking about with that. Who else are we missing here? There was Chip Lohmiller.
Chip. That's hands down. That's hands down.
Okay. Yeah. I need you to read my article.
Yeah.
Chip Lohmiller, I think if you go name recognition, sure. I think our memories of him are probably inflated, I guess is the best way to put it. Like I remember him in 91. I remember him as one of the top kickers. Yeah. And then I went back and looked and I was like, man, okay. So we'll see. He's another one though that it's already been up for it twice, been up for the other two anniversary teams. So I'm not sure about him.
He won an NFL MVP one year, right?
No, that was Mark Mosley.
Oh, okay.
I know they all look alike to you, but yeah, it was Mark. It was Mark Mosley.
Yeah,
all kickers look alike. Yeah, no, Mosley is on the team, and he should be. He's he's the best kicker. But yeah, Lohmiller. Well, I'm not so sure on Lohmiller at this point. We talked about Joe Lavender. Really good career. I just don't know that he's got the recognition for it. Torguson. Yeah, I think that's everybody. I'm gonna make sure we talk Cooley. Yeah, Cooley's a lock. The only other thing I would ask is like, does anybody stand out not on the list that maybe you think could be on the list? Do you remember? Like, I'm putting you on the spot with this, so if you don't have an answer, it's fine.
No, John Jansen. John Jansen.
He's he's already on the 80. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. My default is always to go to offensive lineman. My next guy was Trey Johnson, but
that's a good one. See, Trey's a good one. He's not on there.
I think my favorite Trey Johnson quote was, "It's really difficult trying to move another 300-pound man against his will." Right? Like that's one of my favorite quotes. But I think those two are probably the ones that I'm like, they should be on there. Trey Johnson. I'm trying to think of some other guys who should be on there. I don't know off the top of my head. What about you? Do you have anybody that?
Trey Johnson was definitely one of mine. I had a couple, but Trey Johnson was actually one of the first ones I thought about too. He's not. I had to go through the list and kind of scan it.
Right.
He was a really good. He was easily our best offensive lineman during that mid '90s where we were down. That mid '90s period, that North Turner era, I kind of compare to the era that like Joe Lavender played in, where like nobody really enjoyed the football at the time, so because the teams weren't very good, but there were some very good players, and he was a standout player on that team for us. He was a legit offensive lineman. The other one I came up with that I would put especially over somebody like a Mike Sellers would be Lorenzo Alexander.
Yes,
Alexander was a guy who just undrafted like Sellers, but really just did everything. Like he played a different position every season. He moved. He was a team guy. He was a captain for years. Like he's a guy that I like. If again, the numbers probably aren't there if you're looking at like a pure stats thing, but from like a recognition, like you remember like a face of the team. He was really a face of the team starting under Joe Gibbs and really going all the way until 2011 when the salary cap became an issue.
No, that was the perfect guy, Lorenzo Alexander, the one-man gang. You're right. He did everything. He's what I think Mike Sellers, should have been, right? Being able to do all of those different things and excel at them. And then he left and went to Buffalo and then turned himself into a legitimate pass rusher and ended up having double-digit sacks and made a Pro Bowl there as well, too. So he wasn't just a special teams player. He became a legitimate contributor on defense. But, yes, he was great. And I felt bad for him for some of those years because, like, some years they were like, hey, we need you to be 270 pounds. Yeah. Some of these other years they were like, oh, we need you to be 230. And, he just did whatever was necessary, and he played well. He always performed, came up with big plays when they were needed. So, absolutely, he should be on there, certainly more than some of the guys who were mentioned.
Yeah, so and one other guy that I thought, but he's definitely in the Mike Sellers category, was Kendrick Goldston. But he's sort of like, I don't know that I'd put it, if like I said, if guys like Mike Sellers and RG3 are on the ballot, then Kendrick Goldston should at least be on the ballot. I don't know that he makes it, but he was just a guy that was here against all odds for years. Yeah. But again, the numbers, he's almost like a Daryl Grant where like the numbers really aren't there. He's just a dude like, I remember that guy. He was good. He played for years. He was, So
one of those guys where they got to create like an award just for him of how not to get cut, because he lasted through. Yeah. He had like 7 head coaches. I mean, he lasted through so many regimes. Kendrick Goldston, but and like the coaching equivalent to him would be Randy Jordan. Like he has lasted through different head coaches, but he somehow is still here. So those guys, may not have gotten the best production. Whatever they did, they found a way to stick around, and that was probably their best ability because they lasted so long.
All right, so that's our 90th anniversary team preview. Please, let us know on Twitter in the comments. Let us know what you guys think. What an idiot I am for comparing RG3 to Timmy Smith. I'm fine with it. So I said we're gonna release a written piece to go along with this as well. So please check that out on our site. Brian, you got anything? I know you had some things that you wanted to touch on tonight as well.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, Eric will be releasing that article. It'll be on WFTdeclassified.com. So if you don't know, go subscribe to our website. That way, as soon as Eric releases that article, you'll get a notification and you'll be able to read his thoughts on all of those players, that whole new class there. So, something I had read, or as a tweet, one of the Commanders team writers, tweeted something out earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, about Ron Rivera. It was a quote he had about the defense, and it was that Ron Rivera wanted the defense to be more adaptable, especially to the 3 wide receiver sets and 4 wide receiver sets. And I thought this was interesting, given everything that happened with Jack Del Rio and his comments. It just felt like, Rivera subtly was just letting, Rivera know you need to do better. When he says, in that quote where Rivera says 3 wide receiver sets, well, guess what? The NFL uses 3 wide receiver sets on just about every play. It's like 75% of the NFL uses 3 wide receivers as a majority of their game plan. So we're not talking about, a 1 or 2 plays a game. We're talking about something that is heavily used. And for him to, point out something so obvious, especially in the media, about his defense in general, and the person leading that defense, that they need to pay more attention to something that is so obvious, I thought was important. And I thought was, I think Rivera usually says, hey, there are things that are interesting and the things that are important. And I thought that was important because it was so blatant, of a concept there. But I don't know. Do you think that's just kind of nothing to it, or do you think there's a little bit more to it?
No, anytime your head coach suggests in the media something that you need to be better at, I think it's time to, we need to listen. It's kind of like being in the office and your, senior director is hinting at the, project that you're working on could be doing better. Like, you have to pay attention to that because he's calling you out in front of people. And I think Ron has a very subtle gift at doing that in the media, of just kind of using that as a ploy to kind of get the word out that he's not happy about something, or that he's ready to work. I think we saw it in the Terry McLaurin negotiations as well, where he's just like, we want him here. We want him to be here.
Yep.
And it's, it's the same type of thing. He's putting the pressure, on the other side. I think he's doing that here with Del Rio. And let's be honest, the defense was struggled for the most part last year. And, you said it, 3 wide receiver sets. I mean, you need to get better against multiple wide receivers. Yeah, it's today's NFL.
Yeah.
Of course you need to be better about it. So if he has to say that, I think he is calling out. I'm not sure Del Rio's job is in jeopardy at this point, but I think if the, season goes the way it did last year, I don't think he'll be here. But I think he's definitely calling him out.
Yeah.
But I think he's doing it in a way that gives Del Rio a chance to come through and save his job.
No, I completely agree. Rivera is definitely not one of those guys who kind of uses, double talk or coded language. I mean, I think he's pretty straightforward. Is he going to be heavy-handed with it? No. And I think this is, if you pay attention, Rivera usually tells you what he wants or what he's looking for or what he's not happy with. I mean, last season, how many times did he tell us he thought the maturity level of the defense just wasn't there? And we saw it play out with how bad the defense was week in and week out. And I think he's telling us here right now, the defense, you better fix some of these glaring issues that you had last year, in particular 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. So I like it because I was very upset with kind of how bad the defense was after, they had told us all offseason how good they were going to be. So hopefully they listen, in particular Del Rio, and he does make some changes because we need it. If we're going to have ourselves a season, that defense cannot be dead last on third downs. They just can't be. They've got to be much better than that.
Yeah, and he could be talking to Chris Harris as well. He could be talking to
yes.
Bobby McCain. That would make you happy.
Oh.
Troy Apke.
If only I was so lucky. Hopefully he's talking to Sam Mills, because I think if anybody outside of Del Rio on that defense, coaching wise, is on the hot seat, it's got to be Sam Mills. I mean, if you look at the talent disparity from the defensive line to the other positions, I mean, the most talent is on the defensive line, and we've probably got the less production out of that group as opposed to some of the others. So hopefully Sam Mills is paying attention too.
Yeah, maybe we'll see another subtle call out about how the defensive line needs to get better at playing the run, making tackles, and getting sacks.
Yep.
And getting pressures.
Absolutely. One of the other things to come out this week are, everybody's favorite football game. I know my favorite. I still play it to this day, Madden. Terry McLaurin's ranking in Madden just came out, and I was actually shocked. It was a 91, which is really good. And when obviously Madden's not a true indicator of anybody's talent or anything like that. But given the way McLaurin is kind of maybe downgraded by national media and the NFL, I would have thought that, Madden would have had it rated lower, but they got him rated, I think, pretty high, probably where he is, which is a 91, which wasn't the top, but was right up there with some of those guys.
So I'm a video game novice. I don't play. So you have to talk to me like I'm a child here, but so is that like a composite score of like multiple different categories, or is it like okay. So he's got like 100 speed or a 95 speed and an 86 hand.
So all they released was that his overall was a 91. If other attributes ratings were released, I didn't see them. So if you guys out there listening know what his other attributes are, what rating those are, tweet us, let us know. But yeah, they released the overall rating, and that's 91 for like a receiver. They have a catch rating, they have a speed rating, agility, strength, awareness. They have a jump rating, special catch rating. So, hey, is this guy known to do one-handed catches? They have those types of ratings and things like that on their offensive linemen. They have a pass block, run block rating, that kind of thing.
So where was he ranked over? Was he like top 10 in the NFL, top 5 in the NFL as far as Madden? And what's funny is it always like this story catches me off guard every year at how big it is. And it always is, again, not playing video games. Like I just don't get it. So I don't like to mock, but it's just like, wow, people really get into this. Like I see players arguing about it. So like where was his ranking among like receivers or overall players?
I want to say he was number 8 in the NFL. Devontae Adams was a 99. He was the only 99 on there. And then I don't remember the other list of guys in between them, but Devontae Adams was number 1. Terry was 8. A.J. Brown was not on there, he wasn't in the top 10, I should say. I'm sure he could be 11 or 12 in terms of his rating, but he was not above Terry. So that I found that interesting as well. But yeah, Madden is for me growing up, when the new Madden came out, it was like me and my friends trying to find money so we could go and buy the new Madden and then play it for hours and hours on end. So it is certainly, ingrained in a lot of people my age to play Madden and to get Madden. I still get it to this day, even though I don't play near as much as I did when I was younger, because, I've got a job and a family and all those kinds of things to do and take care of. But it's still fun for me, and I still play it today, and I love playing the Cowboys and beating them 70-0 in Madden every time.
So I used to do in Tecmo Super Bowl, but I would have to be the Houston Oilers. I couldn't be the Redskins. They weren't good enough. They were really good, but I couldn't play with them because they weren't good. The Houston Oilers. That was my Tecmo Bowl team. Everybody fought over Bo Jackson. Oh, the Oilers, man, they had Warren Moon and like the 4 receivers.
Okay. All right.
And you had to fix the pass plays just right, but you could put 100 points a game up easy. It was great. So anyway, that tells you how old I am and my level of video game skill. So good on Terry. Do we have anybody else with high Madden ratings, or are they like letting them trickle out like the schedule release and all that stuff?
Yeah, they are. They just did, I think, either today, yesterday, whatever day it was, the wide receivers. So okay. I imagine quarterbacks will be soon, running backs, defensive players, that kind of thing will be coming out here soon. So, but yeah, just the wide receivers from what I saw.
Okay, well, I look forward to arguing about Carson Wentz being a 40 or whatever.
I think I saw. I think this was maybe from the last year's game. I think he was like an 80 or a 79 or something like that. It was somewhere. It was pretty low. It wasn't.
So that's low. 80. This is out of 100, right?
Yeah, most.
I'm thinking out of like QBR or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah, so most players, like really bad ones, could be like a 54. I don't think I've seen one below 50.
Where Mike Sellers be?
Mike Sellers would be a.
Could probably go back to like Madden 04 and find out, right?
Yeah, he'd be like a 68 or something like that. I mean, his speed wouldn't be great. He'd be good at blocking, but that would probably be about it. Not catching or doing anything else. So
right.
Today's Madden fact lesson. There you go.
You've piqued my interest. I might have to go out and buy a Sega Genesis and start with Madden 95 and move up. Was that what it was on? Was it on a Genesis or was it an N64 or something?
Had 95. No, that was that 95 would have been probably Sega Genesis, but
look at me knowing my games.
That one for certain would have John Madden on it and still calling the using his voice to.
Was he not doing that anymore?
No, it's like Chris Collinsworth or somebody who's on there now. Like he gave it up a long time ago. I mean, Madden's voice hasn't been on there in years.
Well, yeah, he died, so that makes sense, I guess. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it would make a lot of sense. But they don't call it Collinsworth 22. Nobody would buy that. Nobody would buy that.
They'd probably ask for a refund if that was the case.
Now here's a game.
Yeah.
All right. So last thing to touch on real quick. Ellie gave us homework. So gate revenue report came out this week, and Washington was number 31 last year out of 32 teams, just ahead of the Detroit Lions, behind Jacksonville, which is about 1/60th the size of the DC metro area. Like small market teams. There's not a lot of small market, like legit small markets in the NFL, but Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Arizona all qualify, and Washington was below them in ticket revenue last year. So should we be concerned that nobody's going to our games?
No. I mean, we haven't been very good. And when you start to win, the fans will come back. There's also revenue sharing. So, which is a legitimate, specific reason to guard against some of these teams, some of these owners who have these teams who are performing poorly, from then being looked at as, hey, we've got to do something with that owner because they're not winning. Because, the owners, how much ever we may dislike them, are smart, and they don't like losing money, and they don't like having things that give them power taken away. And they understand it. NFL teams are the long game, right? There could be an 8-year stretch where you're awful, and there could be a 7-year stretch where you're really good. But a lot of that is factors that sometimes are outside of your control. Like, hey, I hit on a 6th-round pick in Tom Brady, and I have the next great quarterback for 20 years. Or I draft RG3, and I just get 1 year of production out of it. So with that revenue sharing, they all get plenty of money. Yeah, is it concerning that we fall into that place? Sure. 1 or 2 good seasons. I mean, really good. Not a 9-8 season, not a 10-7 season. I mean, we've got to win 11, 12, 13 type games a couple of years in a row, and I think all that goes to the wayside.
Yeah, I definitely understand why they're trying to build a 55,000 seat stadium in Prince William now, because if they can't fill a 70,000 or however many we've got now. You can only build so many party decks at this point. And the worst thing I can think of is, because some of those games were like crazy empty last year, is would it be awful to get your local game blacked out? Like, because there are still blackout rules in effect, even for the NFL, which never, doesn't, it doesn't happen very often, but it has happened in places like Jacksonville and that in recent years, where they have actually had their games black out locally. So you've got, the DC metro area can't watch its team play because not enough people are showing up at the game. So this is something to keep your eye on. I don't see that happening anytime soon. I think if we can turn it around with a few more wins, we can get around that. But being behind, Charlotte and Jacksonville, and Cincinnati is a little scary. Obviously, Cincinnati had the great run last year, but still, you really don't want to be, when you're you're like the number 6 or 8 market at this point in the DC is a huge metro area, a huge market, and you're behind Cincinnati that's like 25. That's not good.
And I don't even know if the market stuff even matters at this point. I mean, DC area is a big market, but it's also a transient area more so than a lot of these other markets. So a lot of the people who are coming into this area are already fans of other teams, and then they're here for 3-4 years, and then they move, somewhere else, and it's another, batch of people who move in with, their own ties to other teams and things like that. So while it is big, I think, by nature of the area itself, I just don't know if that means what it used to mean, because it is so transient and there are so many people moving in and moving out of this area. And then the other thing is, I mean, the NFL has their product is great for TV. Like, watching a football game on TV is excellent. And I mean, TVs are cheap now. You can get a 55-inch 4K TV for like $430. And you can have an excellent experience watching the game at home, and you don't have to deal with any drunk people. And the food is cheaper. There's more beer, and the bathroom is right next to you. I mean, so I don't think that is going to change. I think the days of that 100,000 seat stadium in the NFL anyways are probably limited. I think you're going to see a lot more teams go to, with the design that we saw for the Commanders, that 55,000, that 60,000 seat kind of more intimate setting that's got more amenities around it.
Yeah, keep your eye on it. Go to games if you can. I guess that's the best way to put it. But it would sure help if the team was watchable. It would make it a lot more fun to go to games. All right, so that's what we got for this week. Any final thoughts, Brian, before we head out?
Final thoughts are, I need training camp to get here now. I am so ready to see Terry McLaurin on the field. I am so ready to see Jahan Dotson. I'm ready to see Carson Wentz. I wasn't excited about him to start, but I think he's got some weapons here. I think we can protect him. I think we can give him the support that he needs. I'm hoping the defense will look a little bit better. But hey, this is the time that optimism abounds, and we always win this part of the year. So I'm ready for training camp. I'm ready to see what these guys look like and what this offense can do.
Yeah, this time next week, I think we'll be talking about training camp actually happening. That's a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't wait for the season to get here. July is just the worst time of year to watch sports. Not that there isn't stuff on, it's just I'm not super interested in watching anything in July. I'm just looking forward. It's like, the countdown to Christmas is coming. So I'm excited. So that's our show tonight. Brian, thank you so much. Ellie's going to be back next week to keep us in line. But if you are listening and you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. We're on all your podcatchers. And if you're out there and if you have subscribed, leave us a review and a rating. A 5-star review and a rating bumps us up. It gives us more ability to be found in the searches. So please do that if you can. Hit us up on YouTube. We're gaining subscribers on YouTube. We'd love that. But we would love to hit 1,000 by the time the season starts. I think that's an achievable goal.
I think we can do it.
I think we can do it. So let's get to 1,000 subscribers by week 1. That's our goal on YouTube. And check us out. Leave your comments. Hit us up on Twitter. You got our Twitter handles right here. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm ETROD42. Brian is at
Mr. Who with 2 O's, 1. And make sure you subscribe to the website, WFTdeclassified.com. It's free to do. We've got a ton of articles up there that you can read. They're all quick reads, 1, 2, 3 minutes. We've got some cool interviews, some things that are just exclusive to the website. And subscribe to it because Eric is dropping his article about the 90 greatest commanders, and you won't want to miss it. There's a lot of information in there about some of the older players as well as some of the newer ones. So make sure you go and check that out, and we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. He said it himself. Peace out, homies.